So there's this story about this guy, Joseph, and it's really a story about triumph. It's a story about overcoming, working through the negativity, always seeing the bigger picture, trusting in God first and foremost, and trusting in God's plan. But Joseph has this way of just kind of believing that everything will happen for a reason. And he doesn't know why, but he just goes with it. And it's a story about you could be treated poorly. Other people can judge you. Other people can form opinions on you based on themselves. And what it really is breaking down into is kind of that it's always about them. It's not really about you. Like if we translate this to present day time and things in our lives, social media, friends, family, whatever that might look like, oftentimes people will say something about you, will think something about you or whatever, and it's really them projecting something about themselves, an insecurity about themselves, something that they think about themselves or whatever. And it's not so much about you. Hardly ever, if ever at all, in times of your life, that if something is just happening from somebody else, if somebody just forms an opinion on you and you're a good person, right? Like you're treating people just and fairly and you're not being rude or a jerk to people, that other people might just treat you like a jerk or think of you that and think of you in a way or have opinions about you, or that person might be a jerk and they might treat you that way. But it's about them, it's not about you. And you'll see that in this story as time goes, where Joseph has opinions formed on him first through his family, through his brothers, and then other people see the good in him. Other people see the potential in him through him and God. And then somebody else comes along and forms a different opinion on him. You'll see people change their opinions, right? So that's one thing too, is one person might think something about you, but it doesn't mean I have to think that. I can form my own opinion. But when people are swayed by opinions of others, you're then losing your own sight on life and other people. So let me kind of dive into this and help you maybe understand something. I think it's a pretty cool story about all these different things and just a way to life that you could try to emulate your life to be a little bit like Joseph through God. And it's a pretty cool story. So we're going to start in Genesis in chapter 37 is where it really begins. But it's really just talking about here the basis of Joseph and the story and the background of where he comes from. So when he's younger, basically he has these dreams, he has these visions, and it's God. It's God speaking to him. God speaks to us in many different ways, and one of the biggest ways he speaks to us is through our visions, through our ideas and visions that we have and dreams and whatever. And in this case, in Joseph, he's having dreams. And in his dreams, he sees a couple different things. He has two different dreams and he shares them with his brothers. And his brothers basically just mock him and don't, think of him as a fool and think, oh, you think you're so great, basically. Because what's going on in this time now is Joseph is his father's favorite son. So out of all these brothers, Joseph is his father's favorite. So his brothers are jealous. They don't like him very much for this reason. So he has a dream and he tells his brothers about it. And he says, oh, we were out in the field and we were tying up bundles of grain. And suddenly my bundle stood up and all of your bundles bowed before my bundle. So it's, his brothers take it as like, oh, you think you're better than us. You think your work is better than us. Your value is higher than ours and whatever. Now, remember, they already have their opinion that they don't like him because his father has him as his favorite. That's not Joseph's fault. Right now, you could tell already Joseph is an eclectic, visionary person, hardworking, determined. That's just who he is. That's his character. That's what God has instilled in him. But because he became his father's favorite, his brothers don't like him. That's not his fault, right? Like who he is, it's who he is, it's his character, but it's not his fault. Like things that people think about him or whatever, that's not his fault. His father having him as his favorite, that's not him. He didn't say, oh, dad, you need to make me your favorite. I have to be His father just chose him to be his favorite because of who he is. So now his brothers don't like him for that, and that's not his fault. So it's a reminder here to start off with telling you that, like, if you're a good person, you have good morals, good values, you have good work ethic, and you just put yourself to be in a position to constantly be moving forward and evolving and improving in life, people aren't going to like you. If you have visions that people don't understand, that God, God is giving you these visions and people don't understand it, they're gonna bring you down. Whether it's their thoughts, their opinions, they say things, they talk about you, whatever. People are gonna go against you. People go against God. People have gone against God since time has started. This is a reminder with Joseph to tell you, like, if you're a good person, just continue to be yourself and trust in the work that you're doing, trust in God, and you'll continue to push forward. So he has that dream. And then he has another dream that he basically tells them, oh, I had another dream that says the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars all bowed low before me. So now again, his brothers and even his father he tells his father this time, and they're like, oh, think you're better than us. You think that you're so much better or higher than us that we're going to come to you and bow to you. Because basically, in these times, it's a sign of respect to your Lord, to your higher power, whatever, that you bow to them and show a sign of respect. So that's basically what they're saying here is you think that we're going to show you this much respect, that you're going to be so much of a higher power, higher status over us that we're going to bow to you? Like, come on now. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's basically what's happening there. So the story kind of goes on. And then what happens is his brothers, Joseph's brothers, go out to do some work and they're gone for a while. So their father tells Joseph was stayed behind. So their father says, hey, go check in your brothers, go get them, like make sure they're okay, get them back home, basically. So he heads out and his brothers, at this point, they hate him, right? Like they hate Joseph. So they see him coming and they're like, hey, you know what? Like, let's plot, like they plot against him and they basically like, okay, we're gonna kill him. Let's kill him. We can throw him in this well, basically in this shaft, and he'll be dead. And that's it. Nobody will ever find him, and that's it. And his brother Reuben is like, hey guys, like, I agree with you. We don't like him. We don't want him around. He's ruining our life, whatever. But let's not kill him. Like, let's not get the blood on our hands. Like, we don't want to kill him. He is our brother. Like, that is family. Like, we don't want to kill our family, but we can at least get rid of him. But really what Reuben is doing is he's trying to look out for his brother. He's trying to just help him get away from this, this evil plot against him. But what he's doing is telling his brothers to let's just put him in the well, put him in the shaft. And then in the back of Reuben's mind, he's like, okay, I'm going to come back when my brothers are gone. I'm going to come back and save my brother and basically say, hey, like, get away from here. They're trying to kill you, so you need to leave. So they get ready to do that. But then as the chapter goes on a little bit more, there are these Ishmaelite traders who are coming through. Now, the brothers have a plan. Let's sell them. Now, not only do we not have to get blood on our hands, we don't even have to we don't have to get rid of them. And now we can just take them out and sell them. And now we're going to get money. So we get rid of somebody that we don't like, and we're going to profit from it by getting money. To them, win-win situation. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of our brother. So they do that. They sell him off. And now these traders go to Egypt and they sell him off to this guy named Potiphar, who's an officer of Pharaoh. Chances are in your history or something, you know who Pharaoh is. You've heard some stories or at least the name of Pharaoh, who's this high ruler. So Potiphar works for him, basically. And he takes Joseph. He purchases Joseph and takes him in. And then as the chapters continue, kind of just, gives a little bit of background there and whatever. And then it switches over the story a little bit and we get back to Joseph. So now Joseph lives with Potiphar. He's working for him. And quickly, as in anything else, just on his life with his family when he was back home, he's a hard worker. He believes in God. He listens to God, and God shows his work through Joseph. So Joseph quickly is recognized by Potiphar as like, oh, wow, this guy's good. Like this is a hard worker. He's determined. He's busting his ass, right? And he's worth a lot. Like he's really valuable. I need him. I need this guy. Like this worker, I want to hold on. Like I want to keep him. He's a great worker. So since the Lord was with Joseph, he succeeded in everything that he did, and Potiphar recognized this. And Potiphar gives complete administrative responsibility. So like he boss, basically. Right? Like he makes Joseph the boss of everything that Potiphar owned. So his home, his stock, his land, his workers that he had. So basically, think of it as like Potiphar is like the general manager of the building of the company. So he makes Joseph like the head supervisor. But then quickly after this, Joseph's a good looking dude. He's in shape, and, like he's very active, so he works out basically. He's fit. He's a handsome looking guy. So Potiphar's wife was like, "Hey, I kind of like this guy. Like, it's probably this younger, buff dude around the house, and I don't know how old Potiphar is exactly and his wife, but they're obviously older. So now the wife is like, oh shoot, like we got this young, buff guy around the house. Like I kind of like him. Like I want his attention. I want to sleep with him. So she tries to constantly seduce Joseph. Joseph is a God-fearing man. Joseph has high morals, high standards, high quality. So he refuses every single time. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm not cheating on my master with you. Like, that's not going to happen. She keeps trying. She keeps trying and rejects it every single time. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm all set. So finally one day he has this big robe, and he tries to get away from her, and she grabs the robe and it rips off in her hand. So now at this point, she's probably embarrassed. She's probably, her feelings are hurt, and she's probably like, hey, why doesn't he want to sleep with me? Like, what the hell's going on? Why won't this guy sleep with me? So she turns around and says, well, I'm going to make him look to be the bad guy now. She's not going to admit to her own fault. She's not going to say, oh, I'm trying to sleep with him and this. No, it's him. So she tells the guards, she screams and tells the guards, hey, he just tried to come in and rape me. Look, I have his coat, I have his robe. This is proof. Like, I held on to it and screamed. That's when you heard me scream, because he tried to rape me. So now that opinion that was originally formed by Potiphar of this guy's great, he's a hard worker, I need him in my life, I need him to rule over everything that I have and watch over everything, I can trust him with my life, basically. Well, now his wife says one thing and his opinion changes. So his opinion of somebody is quickly swayed by another person. Next thing you know, he throws him in prison. So now Joseph is thrown in prison, something that he didn't even do. Here's the cool thing about Joseph. It doesn't even faze him. Like most of us would fight back, right? Like most of us would be like, screw you. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I didn't, whatever. No, this person's lying. He knows, look, this is Potiphar's wife. He's going to believe her over me. Why waste my energy? Why try? Like, why bother? This is gonna have like this. You could tell Joseph firmly believes in God and that everything will happen for a reason. So you could literally see him just like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Cool. You want to lie about me? You want to, tear down my character and try to make me out to be something I'm not and act as if I'm this type of person and I'm not. Hey, whatever. That's on you. That's a you thing. If you want to do it, go ahead. You can lie. You can make me out to be this bad guy. I know I'm not. God knows I'm not. I'll take the punishment. I didn't do the crime, but I'll take the punishment. Cool. Whatever happens, happens. I'll make the best of it. We'll move on in life. So be it. So now Joseph's in prison because of something he didn't do. But again, he just accepts it and moves on. So now he's in prison, and because God was with him, he quickly, again, succeeds in everything he's doing. He's gaining attention from the prison guards and the higher ups because Joseph's just this great guy. Joseph's a hard worker. He's got, like I said, he's got the standards and the morals, and he's just got this quality about him, right? He's got God. Before you know it, the warden sees all of this, and he's like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm going to put this guy in charge. So once again, he quickly shows what he's capable of doing, and the person in charge, another new person, gets to see him and said, wow, guy's great. Okay, we need to promote him. So what happens? Joseph gets a promotion, and now he is in charge of all the other prisoners and everything that happens in the prison. So the warden is like the head person, and Joseph's second in command. So once again, you see Joseph is quickly recognized for everything he does, and he's always promoted to second in command. Like pretty quickly, these people are like, wow, this guy's great. Okay, I need him as my right hand man. So now he's in charge of the prison, basically. Like when the warden's not around or the warden's doing something else, like the warden's taking care of something else, Joseph's in charge of everything. So he meets these two people that worked for Pharaoh. So these two people that used to work for Pharaoh were thrown in prison for whatever they did. There's a cupbearer and a baker. You know what a baker is? A cupbearer is basically someone who fills his cup with wine and takes his cup and holds it, and basically like his like a concierge or I don't know, maybe like a waitress or a waiter or something. A bartender, something like that is kind of what I'm interpreting here. That's neither here nor there though. So they're hanging out in prison, basically. They're doing their thing, and one day the cupbearer and the baker are chatting about these dreams that they had, and like us, I'm sure you've had some dreams in your past. Maybe you're like, wow, like what was that? What does that mean? I wonder if that means anything or whatever. So these two guys are talking about their dreams, trying to figure it out. They have no idea. And Joseph overhears them. Now, Joseph has the power of God with him, so he can understand what's going on. Now, remind you, Joseph had these dreams that we talked about in the beginning a few years ago that were leading him to something, right? Like God sent him a vision. So he tries to interpret them. He goes through God. So basically what happens is their dreams interpret to the cupbearer is basically getting his job back. Like in a couple days, he'll have his job back. And then the baker's dream was that he's going to be killed. For whatever reason, he's going to be killed. So next thing you know, a couple days later, this exact thing happens. Cupbearer gets his job back. The baker is killed. Now, in this time, Pharaoh is talking about a dream that he recently had, but nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows how to interpret it. But then at this point, the cupbearer is like, oh, shoot. Hey, Pharaoh, there's this dude in prison. Like this dude told me about our dreams and they just happened. You should go talk to him. Like go ask him because I think he might be able to help you. So right away, Pharaoh's like, bet, right? For my younger generation, bet. Sends to get Joseph, brings him back, tells him his dream. So he tells Joseph his dream. Joseph responds that, I can't break it down myself, but I have the power of God. I trust in God. Let me see what he says. And he tells him about everything going on. There's going to be a famine and a feast and all these different things going on. And he breaks down the entire dream for him through God. And at this point, Pharaoh talks to his people and he's like, hey, like, guy's pretty smart. He's pretty enlightened. Maybe we should bring him in. Like maybe we should give him some jobs, a higher power. Next thing you know, Joseph gets a promotion now through Pharaoh. So now he's working for Pharaoh. This is how quickly you can tell how strong Joseph probably carried himself. Is Pharaoh's like, hey, you know what? Like I'm putting you in charge of Egypt. Like all of the land, the goods, the food, the animal, you're in charge. Stuff said, you're a bright young man. You're in charge. Not only does Pharaoh give Joseph power of all the land, but he also gives him a wife. So then the story goes on, and now we're in chapter 42, and the famine. So basically, the dream was that Egypt is going to have 7 years of like great crops. But then after that, it's going to be 7 years of famine. Like no crops are going to grow. The land is just going to wither and all the lands around it are just going to lose everything. Like people will basically die off or because you're going to lose all your food, right? Like all the food is going to be gone. Nothing good is going to happen for 7 years after the 7 good years. So in the 7 good years, they store up as much as possible for themselves to sell off to all the lands around them. So that way they could take care of themselves first and then take care of everybody around them and also, kind of profit off of it. So that's what happens there. And then one of the lands a little bit out was Canaan, where Joseph came from. So now his brothers are still there. So they come out and they need to buy some grain and they need to buy some food. So they come out and they leave Jacob, who is Joseph's father. Remember now, back then, Joseph was Jacob's favorite. Basically, what happened in that time was when he got sold off to Egypt, the brothers went back home and basically lied to the father and said, hey, like, we found his robe full of blood. We think he got taken by an animal and killed. So now his father thinks he's dead and gone because some wild animal like ate him. So, and whatever happens, happens, and he gets out of it. They get sent out to buy the food. But they don't know Joseph's there. They don't know Joseph's in charge. They just sold him off. They think he's probably gotten killed or is just whatever, some prisoner, or they don't even know what's going on with Joseph. They just think he's gone. That's all they know. So they get out there and they try to buy food. And at this point, the brothers get out there and they get to Joseph. Now, at this point, Joseph looks nothing like what he used to because he's years and years later. Who knows? He has a beard. Who knows what he looks like? But his brothers don't recognize him. But he quickly is like, oh, shoot, these are my brothers. Okay, cool. Kind of like, oh, how the tables have turned. So they bow before him to buy the food, and he remembers his dream. Now, if you think back and remember, he told his brothers a dream years and years and years before this that they were going to bow in front of him. He actually said the bundles of grains would bow in front of his. Well, now they're showing up. The brothers are showing up, bowing before Joseph for grain. Kind of funny how that works. So they go through that and they are trying to buy the grain. And he kind of plays a little trick on it. He has some fun with them. He's like, oh, you guys are spies. Like, I don't trust you. You guys are spies. He kind of plays this game with them. And they're like, no, we're not spies. Like, our brother is back home. Our youngest brother is back home. Our father is there. Like, we need grain. We just don't have anything in our land. So, Joseph is kind of like testing them in this. So at this point, the brothers start talking amongst themselves and like, hey, like, we're clearly being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. When he pleaded for his life, we saw his anguish and we didn't listen. And that's why we're getting in trouble now. Like, that's why we're being tested. And that's why we're going to get in trouble now. So Joseph orders his servants to basically fill up the sacks with grain and the money that his brothers brought. Because at this point, he kind of has like, he's in his feels. He's like, I feel bad. Like, they treated me like crap, but I have more morals than that. I'm not going to stoop to their level. I'm going to be the bigger person here. So in this, he basically tells them, like, you're going to leave somebody with me as like a good gesture. Go home and get your brother and come back. So that way, I can believe you. What I believe he's really doing here is he had one younger brother who was his like actual brother. All these other guys are like half brothers. And his full brother was left at home, Benjamin. So I think what he's doing here is at first in this plan, he's trying to get his younger brother out to him because they left him home. So I feel like he's trying to be like, in his mind, like, I'm going to get my younger brother with me. I'll let him know like who I am. And then I'll be like reconciled with my younger brother and things will be great. So this is the plan that he puts together and tries to like punish them in a sense and plays a game with them. But he's really just trying to get his brother, out to him. All of the brothers go home. On the way home, they realize like they check their sacks when they stop to take a break. And they realize like, why do we have all of our money? Because Joseph put the money back as well. They're like, wait, we have grain. And why is somebody messed up? Why do we have all of our money? We were only supposed to get grain that we paid for. Why is all of our money here? Like, what are we doing? What is God doing to us? So they return home to the father and they kind of tell him what happened and tell him like this man kept asking us questions about our family. And he asked us, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? Because think about it. They don't know it's Joseph, but Joseph's checking up. Joseph's checking on his younger brother to make sure he's doing okay and that the brothers didn't like pick on him. And also, hey, like, I love my father. Is my father good? So he does that. So now time goes on. They eat up all the food. And basically what happens now is they have to go back. Jacob, the father, says, hey, you guys got to go back for more. Take money, take extra money. Make sure you do right by what happened. If they messed up, like pay double, take care of the mess up. They don't know. But in this state, the brothers tell him, like, we can't go back. This guy told us we cannot come back without our younger brother. We need to take Benjamin. So they kind of argue with the dad for a while. And finally, the father's like, listen, like, fine, but like, I will die. If my other son dies, because he thinks he already lost Joseph, if my other son dies, I will die like that. If you come back and say, hey, Benjamin's dead, I'm going to drop dead. Like, I can't handle that. So the brothers take him and they get back. So they meet up with Joseph again. They give everything, and once again, Joseph's just a bigger person. He tells his servants, fill up their sacks, put all the money back in. But he also says, hey, put this silver cup of mine into one of their bags. And he has them put it into Benjamin's bag. Benjamin is his younger brother. So basically, what's happening here is Joseph is trying to make another plan. Okay, I see Benjamin's good. So basically, what he's doing is he sends his servant to chase after his brothers when they leave. And he says, the one who has the silver cup in his bag, you're going to take him back as my prisoner. So he's trying to do it with Benjamin because he wants to take Benjamin back. He wants to be with his younger brother, right? This is why I said earlier, like, you could tell that basically what Joseph is trying to do is bring Benjamin to live with him and take care of his younger brother. This happens, but then all of the brothers decide to come back. So instead of just saying, okay, Benjamin, like, go with the servant, you're captured, you'll be the prisoner, whatever, like they were supposed to go back home, they all go back. Now they're all trying to stick up for the younger brother because they've learned lessons at this point. So they try to stick up for the younger brother. No, we will all serve. We will all go to prison. We will all be your servants, not just Benjamin. Like, don't blame him. Like, blame all of us. So basically, Joseph's plan didn't really work out there. So at this point, he just overcome, and I feel like he's also overcome with joy because now he sees like, hey, my brothers they're good people again. Like, they're not being evil anymore. So at this point, he reveals himself and he tells them, like, hey, I'm your brother. I'm Joseph. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm here. I'm doing these things. And he tells them, he goes, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into slavery in Egypt. But don't be upset. Don't be angry with yourselves for selling me to this place. It was God who sent me here ahead of you to preserve your lives. Because remember, they would have died. Everybody ran out of food. If it wasn't for Joseph being in charge and looking out for them with the food, they would have died. I was sent ahead of you to preserve your lives. It was God who sent me here ahead of you. This famine has ravaged the land for 2 years and will last 5 more years, and there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. You're not going to have any food. You're not going to find anything. You're going to die. God has sent me ahead of you to keep you and your families alive and to preserve many survivors. So it was God who sent me here, not you. And he is the one who made me an advisor to Pharaoh, the manager of his entire palace and the governor of Egypt. So he's literally saying this was God's plan. Like, everything works out for a reason. And I'm a firm believer in my life since learning the word more that there is no good and bad. And a lot of people are in that connotation of this good or bad. As you see here, everything's a lesson. You can learn something from everything, every person in your life. So if you ask me, learning, and growing isn't bad, it's good. So if anything, everything would be good. In the moment, it might suck. It might seem bad. But if you can take a lesson and move forward in life from everything, there really isn't a good or a bad. And that's what I'm taking from Joseph here is he sees like, look, y'all treated me like crap. Y'all hated me. Y'all wanted me to die. But look what came from it. I'm now governor of an entire nation, like Egypt. Y'all can think of how big Egypt is. Look it up on a map. I'm in charge of all of the land of Egypt. Y'all tried to kill me. That's okay. God had a bigger plan for me. God wanted me to get out of that so that I could become this great ruler in a sense. Kind of cool. So they kind of chat and, basically he sends them back and gets all of the family, the father and all the siblings and all, animals and everything to come live with him in Egypt. So now, not only does all of this happen, but now he gets to bring his father back and show him, like, look at the incredible man that you raised that I turned into. Rejoice with his brothers. He's forgiven them. He's being the bigger person. They can all come back and live together now and just one big happy family. And there's so many lessons here to learn because so many of us with friends and family and whoever in our lives, we just quickly turn away from them and push them aside and take them for granted and all of these things or tit for tat and they treat us bad, so we're going to treat them bad. And this is literally telling you like, hey, put your trust in God and let things be. And everything happens for a reason. You can see this here. Every single thing happens for a reason. All of these things that would knock down so many people, Joseph was like, cool, turn the other cheek and just keep moving on. Something else will happen. I'm good. I'm in prison. Okay, I'm gonna work here in prison. I'm gonna get myself out of this situation with God, and whatever happens, happens. And he gets out of it. Time goes on. His whole family's there. His father Jacob is there, extremely happy and just blessed to see that his son Joseph wasn't killed. And the cool thing too here is Joseph never even tells the real story. Joseph doesn't tell his father, like Joseph doesn't stitch on his brothers once. He stays loyal. Joseph doesn't say, "Hey, Dad, guess what they tried to do to me." He doesn't tell them at all. He just says, "Hey, I'm good. Like this is me. This is my life. I'm glad you're here. Let's live out the rest of your life together." So his father Jacob passes away eventually, and the family they bury Jacob and everything, and now Joseph gets back to Egypt with his family, his brothers, and all of that. But now at this point, his brothers are like, "Oh, shoot, like maybe that was what was holding it all together. Now that our dad is dead, like we're screwed. Like we're screwed. Joseph is gonna come down on us. He didn't want to punish us for what we tried to do because dad was still alive. Now dad's dead. We're screwed." So they're all talking and whatever. And now they talk amongst themselves, and all of them are fearful. Joseph will show us his anger and pay us back for everything that we did wrong to him. They go to him and they bow down in front of him and basically saying, like, "Hey, we're sorry." And Joseph replies, this is how like big of a person Joseph is. And because he has God with him, and God is will always make you the bigger person. Joseph replies, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I am to punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for all good. He brought me to this position so that I could save your lives and save lives of many other people. So, no, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your family." So he reassured them with speaking kindly. He reassured them that the God fearing man, and we should all just be God fearing and trust in the Lord. I'm not going to pay you back. I'm not going to go tit for tat. You treated me bad. Doesn't mean I have to treat you. You can treat me bad. I can be the bigger person and move on with my life. I can spin everything to a positive narrative. Just because you said something bad about me or treated me a bad way or thought something bad about me or whatever it was, doesn't need to change who I am. I'm going to be myself no matter what anybody else says or thinks about me. The only person I ever care about anymore of what they think of me is God. And that doesn't mean that I'm living my life in a lie. I'm not doing things just so God loves me. I do things because God loves me. There's a difference. I don't live my life so that God loves me. I live my life for God, God through me, because God loves me. And there is a big difference there. The moral of this story in Genesis, if you want to read, specific chapters, it's Genesis chapters 37 through 50 through the end. It's such a cool story that we can learn so many different tidbits from, so many pieces of value and wisdom nuggets there. Like there's so many different values and morals and standards that we can take from this one person in a little short story in the Bible. And maybe you can apply that to yourself in one way. If you hung out with me through this whole entire thing, I tried to break it down in a way that made sense to me, that maybe some other people, maybe my age, millennials and younger can understand. I know sometimes it can be difficult to understand some of the word and understand some of the messages that people put out there. So that's why I'm trying to put it out there in a way that maybe people more my generation and so on can understand. If that does resonate with you, drop a follow, drop a comment on one of your favorite nuggets from what you might learn from Joseph. If you have a Bible verse, chapter, whatever that you want me to read through and try to interpret and make a story on, comment that below. Really, just comment anything you want below. You comment, "I believe in God." Comment, "Pray." Comment, "God is good." Just comment something below, and I would love to hear from you and start a conversation and build more of a community around faith-based people. Again, like I said, make sure to follow because I do post daily proverbs and other quick shorts every single day that you can maybe learn something from as well. Until next time, keep peace and love in your hearts. Keep God first. I love each and every single one of you.